shorts and tank top gang. This was 100% accidental.
Yeah. It's also like 80 degrees out.
Yeah, and it just so happens we're both popping right now. We're looking dry as shit.
Well, let's do it, baby.
We're both kind of small.
Which camera are we looking at?
We'll look at any of the cameras. I got a bunch of cameras now, because that's what you do when you do video, because I'm a creator. Yes. Anyways, this is Oliver.
What's
and
up?
I want to talk a little bit about what I do at BuzzFeed on a day-to-day as a video producer, but my role is kind of an outlier. So I want you to chip in, just so you get a kind of a sense of what a video producer generally should expect in this role. Oliver also worked as a video producer, but it was pretty different. So I'm at like a really internet media company, and he was more in international broadcasting, television, stuff like that. The day-to-day fluctuates so much, right? Some days I don't really have much to do. Some days I'm cranking stuff out. What I do on a day-to-day depends on what part of which process I'm in for which video. How would you group up these responsibilities? So it's pre-production, casting. For me, I got to do a lot of brainstorming for coming up with ideas and then pitching them and discussing them, workshopping with my team. And then also we both had to go through shoots, obviously, right? So shoot days will be very different from planning and brainstorming days, very different from the post-production and editing days. A few things, even when we have the same responsibility, might be different from television or broadcast.
Even when you're post-production.
Even post-production.
Editing styles.
Right, editing styles.
Let me ask you a question. I want to rewind just a little bit. What kind of ideas do you need to have? Do you have to pitch them to anyone? Do you have to get approval?
Ooh. That's changed so much depending on the video. Sometimes it feels like I'm kind of just making whatever. If it's a video that someone doesn't think should go through, it'll probably get stopped somewhere in the process, right?
Now, does that mean that's dead on arrival, or does it mean, okay, tweak this?
A lot of times it'll just be tweaks, right? So I'll just very casually talk with my supervisor or my executive producer or people on my team about what a good video idea would be. And then I would submit a form to say like, okay, this is the creative brief for this. This is the resources I would need. This is when I'm thinking of doing it. These are the props that I would need, the casting required. And then the teams will get back to me about, casting team will say, okay, we need this budget for this. Studio ops team will say, okay, we can't do it on this day because the studio's booked, we need this day, right? My supervisor, executive producer will say, oh, this part of, the concept is too similar to this other video, let's tweak and do this. It's probably as fluid as it realistically would get for these kinds of things. Or at least when I talk to people who do film and they're like, dude, you can just make a video like that. I just come up with it and I just go. One thing that I think is unique about my role and the way that I do my type of role is casting. I like to just cast all my friends, which I can do. I just put all the homies in videos. So I can do that when I work at something like BuzzFeed, which is actually how I met him. So I actually just met him through a mutual friend and threw him into a video. We became homies after this video, right? So that was really fun. That's why I really like kind of doing things myself. And that's been kind of the theme of my role. I kind of just duct tape stuff together.
Let me ask you a question for casting. Traditionally, recently you've been using your homies, friends, and referrals. Now, can you speak to our audience a little bit about how that casting process formally begins? How would one become in a BuzzFeed video?
Ooh. I fill out a form, something like that, Google form, whatever the heck you call it. Just put out a lot of criteria for the people I want. And then the casting team gets back to me within like an hour or so. They're like, all right, we're on it. For me, when I do it, I just use Instagram and mutual friends and Facebook and things like that.
After you've gotten the idea, you've gotten casting, what's next?
Yeah, it's the pre-production, so making sure that all the cast is COVID tested, locked in terms of paperwork, everybody's paid. That'll be getting location releases if needed. That'll be securing a studio space and then a time for the shoot, hiring freelancers like camera operators, people to work on sound, set design, make sure that we have all the equipment that we need for it and everything's ready to be set up, and then we just do the shoot. So for me, I like making group chats with people in the cast, especially because I've been doing the dating show, right? It's fun to make groups with like all the guys or all the girls or all the mixes of people, just so everyone kind of gets to know each other.
But this is before the shoot.
This is before the shoot, right? So like you were in a group chat with Ray
a little bit.
Yeah, and I had the 3 girls in a group chat together. I feel like I've been practicing hosting, but not just on the show, but like getting people to really get into it, and then also getting them to have chemistry with each other.
Yeah, actually, I want to jump on that because as a talent for one of your shows, you successfully, I don't want to say stirred the pot, but you successfully got everyone engaged. If Ray was feeling a little uncomfortable, you make a comment, or there was one time where you said, I'm really good at this in the most humorous kind of way, and then you also said, Oliver, I'm kind of shocked that you're a little quiet, and then 2 seconds later I said something like witty.
Yeah.
You know, like you're very good at literally directing the set and the talent.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. So the funny thing is I had to cut both those moments out.
Really? Oh, damn.
Because I don't want it to be too self-referential. I think it's like funny sometimes, but I think it's a little too much.
Fair enough.
No, but that's like the most fun part of my job. So not just shooting, but like the process of getting in touch with all the talents beforehand and afterwards. So that's why I like doing the dating show, because it's very, very social and we all kind of become homies.
Right.
It's kind of like a little experience that I craft. You know what I mean? Shoot day, I'll pull up to the office, which is in Union Square. I'll get in around 11-ish and I'll have the crew come in like 12 and then have the first talents come in like 12:30 or so. And between when I get in and when the crew comes in, I'll just set up cameras. So I use the Canon C200s right now. I used to use DSLRs, and then I also use A7 S2s. Now I use the C200s, and I'll just put them together, make sure the monitors and the lenses are on, put them on the tripods, set up the composition roughly, turn on all of the lights, make sure the set is looking all pretty, and then the crew comes in. I'll walk them through what the shoot should look like. I'll walk them through some example shots and like the composition and whatnot, explain which parts are
Great job, by the way. Fantastic.
Thank you.
Job.
Appreciate that. Yeah. So I'm kind of a professional. Right?
You're kind of good.
I'm kind of a pro. Yeah. So
Inside joke.
once the crew's all good to go, we kind of just vibe out. I bring speakers to every single shoot so that we can all just listen to some booty clapping music, you know, some bangers, and then the talents will come in. I'll make sure that if it's a dating video, I won't have the single person meet any of the suitors, right? So I'll like hide them in different rooms. People will start rolling in, and I'll basically sit them down and just talk to them casually, turn on the mics, turn on the camera. I won't do that slate thing, you know, where you say like, camera, or like ABC, common mark, scene 1, take 1, whatever the heck that is. One, because I edit all the footage, so I don't need any point to sync with. Also, I don't do that because I don't want the talents to know when I'm actually starting the take and when I'm not.
So we get more...
yes, it's more authentic, right? So I'll basically ask them something like, oh, what did you eat for breakfast this morning? You know, how have you been? I'll ask them about some tea that I know about them, or like something we talked about over DM or whatnot. And then I'll randomly just like work our way into the actual content, and I'll just like cut it starting from there. So a lot of people don't do that. A lot of people just go straight into it. I feel like that makes it more comfortable for everyone.
Yeah, and I feel like the second you slate it,
people freak out.
They don't freak out, but they're no longer 100% themselves.
Right.
It's like, oh, camera ready.
Even if they're not trying to be themselves when they tend to be on camera, they'll tend to fabricate what they're saying.
Yeah, because they want to look good.
Yeah, not only do they want to look good, but they want to at least think more about what they say. They're not just present in you saying something to you, they're saying things in terms of how they think what they say is being
Perceived
listened
by
to.
others.
Yes, and that little bit of like mental chess you gotta play while you're thinking like that makes it less likely you're gonna just say something that's funny, you know, or say something
That's
fun,
true. That's absolutely true.
Yeah, or show personality. So I'll do that. I'll shoot the videos. So I'll basically have one group do their intros and then their whole segment for the video, and then I'll hide them away and have another group do their intros, then their whole segment of the video. And then when I introduce everyone at the end, we kind of take a break, and then everyone kind of gets to just meet each other, and then we'll do like the final check-in, and then we'll finish, right? So I do one group at a time, but then when I edit the video, I edit it so that it bounces back and forth between the two groups, so it looks like they're doing an actual reaction, which they are. Which
also, like, for him to have that bouncing back and forth, he has to siphon through hours and hours of footage on all cameras, and trying to cut at the precise moments. So like that, if you're seeing literally 5 seconds of reactions, that's probably taking like an hour, 2-3 hours.
Yeah, it's taking a very long time.
A long time.
So I'm getting maybe like a 3 to 5 hour shoot and cutting it down to like 8 to 12 minutes. Yeah. That's probably the most painful part. Let's talk a little bit about the editing, right? Editing starts off with me syncing up the audio to each other, and then syncing the main cameras to the audio, and then syncing all the B and C cameras, and then getting the other footage of, like, let's say someone's reacting to this main footage, get the reaction footage, sync it over that, and then I'll watch through the entire thing. Sometimes I won't watch everything because I'll know where the good parts are, but usually I'll like skim through it and cut back and forth between the main action, the reactions, and then between all of the camera angles.
Right.
But then after that, as I do that, the fun part is playing around with like the timing, for example, of the comedic timing of, oh, someone says something and then it jumps to something else, you know, syncing the music to different parts of the video, lining up parts of the video with beat drops or different sounds in the music, and then adding all the little like zooms and effects and all that stuff. So that is pretty much it. So, do you have anything else that comes to mind with editing or
No,
shooting?
I mean, editing is just very much about, you know, having a creative license.
It's, a lot of it comes down to taste. Yeah, thank you for watching. Check out Oliver, I'll link him down below. Like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. Bada bing, bada boom, bam, shazam, on the gram, something like that.